Shalom, shalom, shalom. Alright, all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai. Alright, say shalom to the elder men, women, in His truth, men, the women, the brothers, the sisters, the you know, die in His truth, the children, right, fighting temptations, demons, and lust, man, enduring until Yahweh Bashem Yahushai returns, man, right? All praise to the Most High. And all what everyone is doing, right? Right, and shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, right? So, obviously by the title, you know, going into a topic that is, hey, it's a topic we should all know, man, and hey, sometimes, right, obviously, brotherly love and the royal law in the last days, man. So we gotta have this, in mind because hey, if you don't have brotherly love, man, right? If you don't have brotherly love, right? Shalom to the elder, shalom to the Asher, right? And praise to the Most High. If we don't have brotherly love, if we don't have that, then what the hell do we have, man? Right? So all praise to the Most High, man. We'll kick it off, with the classic precepts, man. Right? Right, let's go to Genesis chapter 4, right? The classic, man. Right, the first act of just evil, man. Right? So let's go to start Genesis chapter 4. So again, the topic, man, obviously going into brotherly love and the royal law in the last days, man. So this is something that's obviously key, man. And when you're in this truth, man, you'll see a couple things, man. You'll experience stuff with brothers, and that's normal, man. Whether you argue, you fight, whatever. Hey, that's normal, man. That's not something that's the end all be all for in this truth, man. And anyone that has that mindset where because you argue, now they hate you, and they stop so easily offended, hey, that you gotta question if that person really is your brother, right? So this is Genesis chapter 4, and we'll start at verse number I'll start at Genesis 4 and 4. So look at Genesis chapter 4 and verse number 4, right? And it reads, and Abel, he also brought of the firstling of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. Right? So obviously, this is the first account really we see of brotherly love, that bond just being completely broken, man, and just off, right? So Abel, he knew to bring the firstling, right, of his flock, right? It says verse 5, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect, and Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell, man. So hey, man, so he obviously was envious, man, envied his brother. It's that evil eye spirit, man. And that's what we don't want to have, that in these last days, man, right? Not that Genesis 4 is going to be just the whole premise of the breakdown, but it's the first account, man, and the reason why is, well, let's go to that as well. All right, let's get a precept real quick, right? I believe it's this, right? Genesis, it's like a right, Jeremiah 6 and verse number 16, right? It reads, it says, thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths. So the old path, really, hey, we're starting from the beginning, right? We're starting from the word, which is the foundation of our understanding in this truth, man. Don't use, I don't know, man, Bad Boys Club or Bad Boys, that movie. That's brotherhood. That's brotherhood. Did you see how, they were shooting, whatever. And you want to use the scriptures as a way to navigate how your brotherhood or your brotherly love toward one another is really governed, man. It says, where is the good way? So in the old path is the good way, man. Right? And walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein, man. So straight up and down, you can see that our people we reluctant to go into the old paths, man, right? And the old paths is essentially what we're seeing here, man. Hey, Cain being rough, envied his brother, right? Oh no, right? You know, I didn't pull it up on the screen, Salakia, right? Let me see if I can pull it up properly. Right, so that was I was showing Jeremiah 6 and 16 about the old path. You know, it says Jeremiah 6 and 16, thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the way and seek and ask for the old path, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said we will not walk therein. So, you know, we want to walk in the old path, man. We don't want to use, you know, a Babylonian mindset, you know, to damn try and topple the the Most High and what the Most High set up, man. Right? Because that's really what this new way of understanding or brotherly love, right, is centered around. Right? So Cain, he was rough, man. So Cain was completely rough. Salakia, right? Envy, right? He had hate toward his brother, right? And we know the outcome of that, man, right? And we know the classic, right? In Deuteronomy 28 and verse, these are the curses, man, right? In 54, you know, but you know, there's quite a few, right? So it says Deuteronomy 28, and I'll start from verse number classic 54. Obviously, we know, right? But I was gonna see if there were any more. Right, let's go to the book, right, of Deuteronomy 28, the classic, man, of verse 54. It says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave, man. So this is a curse that's upon the children of Israel, where they obviously have a hatred, right? They have a terrible hatred toward each other, where they completely dislike each other, man, right? You know, you can see that today, where our people, hey, man, we, right? Salakia, check the brother backstage, but can't. We have just a hatred toward each other, man. You know, we see each other and we, you know, call it. We put up the terms, man. Black on black crime, right? Call it black on so-called black on black crime, right? So black on black crime refers to violent acts committed by black individuals against other black individuals, right? While violent crime is predominantly intraracial, meaning victims and offenders usually share the same race. See that? This specific term is often debated in discussions about criminal justice, community safety, and systemic inequality, right? So, you know, you have black on black crime, man. That's that curse that's upon the children of Israel, where rather than having you have an evil eye towards your brother, rather than looking at your brother as a king, you know, the Achium, right, and Malak, right, Malachium, you looking at your brother as this guy's nothing, he ain't no one, right? I'm gonna, I don't know, finesse him, right? That's how you're looking at your brother. You ain't looking at your brother with love, with any sort of care for him. You just have a mindset, I'm gonna find out how I can get a one up, man. That's why you see this black on black crime, man, right? You see black on black crime, right? And you know, we're in the UK, so we're using the UK stats, man, right? See that? Let's see, you know, let's see. And there's even what you call it? What's it? Operation Trident, right? You have Operation Trident in the UK, man. That was set up to tackle black on black crime. It wasn't no. Hey, that was very, very particular, man. Right? Brother backstage. Right? Okay, fine. Right? So, Shalom, King.
Yeah, shalom.
Are you feeling good?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Shalom.
I think it's slightly echoing.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
Okay. Right. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, so I was just saying about, you have that Operation Trident where you had, I read it. Operation Trident, or simply Trident, is a metropolitan police unit originally set it up in 1998 as an initiative with the police to tackle black on black gun crime following a series of see that Stonebridge spirit following a series of shootings in the London boroughs of Lambeth and Brent. So these whole they set up, and that's how it must have been bad, man. Right? This whole police unit was set up to tackle, you know, black on black crime, man. So these are the curses to identify, you know, uh, um, you know, to identify who the children of Israel are, man. Right? You don't see so-called, you know, something called white on white crime. And again, we're gonna be intellectually honest, right? You don't when we say we really mean Israelites, right? When we say so-called black, right? So-called black. Not every Israelite is black. Not every heathen is white, right? We know this. We won't be ignorant, right? We're talking about the Israelites as a whole, right? And predominantly those people that are part of the diaspora, hey, you look at them, they tend to fit a particular facial characteristic, right? A certain group, right? So that's why, the Israelites, so a lot of them are black, a lot of them, right? So you have Hispanics as well, and you have that same spirit in America. You got the cartels, man, and these guns, and the gangs rather on the floor, right? You got face tats, right? You don't really have that amongst, and that's through the spirit. Someone say, okay, the stats say this, through the spirit. You don't really have that. You don't really have such, you don't go to Soho and you see so-called, Asian groups of people fighting and trying to stab people or whatnot. You don't really see that, So, like it says, we're gonna have an evil eye towards our brother. We're gonna hate and envy our brother, man, because of his position. It says, Genesis 4. I'm gonna try and jump down. It says, Genesis 4 and verse number. I'll read 7. It says, if thou do well, shall thou not be accepted, and if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. So essentially, hey, that's Satan. Satan, like Christ knocks at the door, right? Satan knocks as well, man. Right? I get a quick precept on that, right? So that's why certain people, hey, they behave. I believe it's 3 and 20. That's why certain people they behave. Why is it like this, right? Certain people they behave like that, man, right? So this is Revelation 3 and verse 20. It says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. So Satan does the exact same thing, right? That's why, certain brothers, they isolate themselves. They don't want to be around brothers. I'm by myself. Hey, it's the last days, man. You're supposed to be gathering together. They don't want to join. Again, not that joining a congregation is going to deliver you and give you salvation, right? But having a brotherhood, especially in the last days, is accountability. Having brothers around you, right, is so that you don't have this mindset of Cain where, hey, you might say something, hey, man, I've just been thinking about this damn woman, and she's just like, man, brother might kind of say, hey, you got to get out of that spirit, man, that's off. You can't be thinking about them, I don't know, some next woman, man. Right, we finished camp. Brothers are there for, built for adversity, man. Bro, to help you fight and conquer these damn demons that lie at the door of your mind, right? And that's how Satan and Christ does the same thing, right? And that's him doing the will of the Father. Satan does the same thing. That's him doing the will of the Father, right? Right? Like I say, the duality, right? It says, verse 8, and Cain talked with Abel his brother. And it came to pass, when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel and slew him. And again, this is just horrific, man. Right? This is completely just sickening. Why would he do such a heinous crime, man? Right? It says, and you only do something like that when you've allowed Satan to enter in you, man. That's why you see, like, amongst the so-called black community, man, right? Hispanic community. Hey, that's Satan. That's a evil spirit to have, man. But when you're keeping these laws, you're fulfilling that royal law, and you don't look at your brother that looks like you because he lives in another postcode to you, right? Or he's got more money than you, or less money. You don't look at him any type of way. You just have, hey, that's my brother. Like when we at camp, man, it's beautiful when we see brothers of all kinds of walks. Some brothers are proud, some brothers are not. Some brothers are humble, man, and we can really, like as Christ said, Revelation 3:20, it said about, he said, I will sup with him. When you sup with someone, right? It's almost like you kind of you search that, man. You kind of eat with him. You know what I'm saying, right? You can kind of have discord. See that? So it says we'll sup with him. Yeah, see that? Just like as sharing a meal is personal and welcoming, because you don't eat with any and everybody, man. Joseph showed you that. Joseph didn't sit with a heathen, right? You don't just eat with any and everyone. Obviously, you got to be mindful when there's a time and place. You're not gonna have the feast of Pentecost and you go with a heathen round about, right? You're gonna obviously, it's a, feast days are intimate, you know what I'm saying, right? So when you sup with brothers, right, that's on an intimate level. When you really talk to brothers one to one, right, that's an intimate level. That's a loving relationship or loving friend. And a relationship, my brother saying, that's gay, that's gay. Hey, it's a relationship, man. You have a relationship with your brothers, right? So, to sup with someone is just a metaphor for close, loving friendship, and being welcoming and really being hospitable, you know. So that's what we do. And when you sow in the word and sow in the seed in brothers' minds, is to what, man? To sup with them, man. Hope they come out of that spirit and return to the Most High. Genesis 4:9. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he just come from killing her. He said, I know not. Am I my brother's keep? Right? So we know the mindset that Cain had, right? But you got it, Cain.
Yeah, Khan. Do you hear me, yeah?
Khan.
Yeah, Khan. Like the brother was saying, no matter where you go, there's always going to be this curse. The Deuteronomy 28:54. The eye is always going to be evil towards his own brother, because just because of the fact that we don't know who we are. You know what I'm saying? We will actually look at the other nations more as our brother than our own self.
Right.
Like we can, you know, uh, gain something from them. Because remember, everything is carnal now. Like everything, anyone in the world is carnal, and like the brother was saying about the love of a brother. I don't know if you haven't got it yet. Second Samuel, Baba Kushar, Second Samuel 1 and verse 26. Yeah, this is showing the love of brothers here. Between Jonathan and David.
Right.
So it says, I am distressed for thee, my brother Jonathan. Very pleasant hast thou been unto me. Thy love to me was wonderful, passing the love of a woman. So, and like the brother said, oh yeah, it's gay, the gay. That's a carnal mindset.
Right.
Because how you love your wife, that's exactly how Jonathan was towards David, but on a brotherly love vibe, you know, and that's how we need to be today, like, because obviously these times are getting very where things are gonna start amping up, things are gonna start getting tested, and how much more would you need your brother than today? Do you know what I'm saying? And I just wanted to bring that as well, like, that crabs in a bucket. I don't know why, but I just thought of that. Yeah, that's the mindset of our people. We don't want to see each other win. You know what I'm saying? Like, even, you know, like, I always say this. Even in the world, I wasn't envy of my brother. It would please me, to see a brother doing good. It wouldn't be that vibe of ours, what ain't I got? And I grew up around people that used to be like that. People would actually look at another brother and be like, well, why has he got that and I ain't? You know, that's not the mentality to be in, and that's actually a childish mentality. That's
Right.
what children are like in the playground. Like, oh, he's got that toy. I want that toy. You know what I'm saying? And you know, we need to, like it says in Corinthians, we have to be a man now. We can't have to put away that childish thing. You know. So yeah, it says crabs in a bucket. Yeah, this is or crab mentality. That's what I'm getting at here. It's a metaphor describing a group where individuals undermine and pull down on anyone who tries to succeed. So if
Oh,
you've got a group of brothers and you're all trying to, you're all trying to get get one over on the other. You know what I'm saying? Who's gonna win really? No one's gonna win. Really, you should all be coming together and winning together. You know, because if one don't, you all lose, and that's the mentality that we've got now. Let me get Romans 12, Romans 12, and I'll start at 9. Yeah, Romans 12 and verse 9, and it reads, let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. Can you look up that word, Baba Kushar?
okay.
Let love be without dissimulation. Dissimulation. So
See that?
dissimulation is the act of hiding, disguising, or feigning your true feeling, character, or intentions. And that's definitely that crab mentality, you know, because in the world, that fake love they call it, you know, and that saying, the snake, the snake, they're laughing with you and all that, but then really they don't want to see you win. They're just you know what I'm saying. So it's saying let your love be without dissimulation. So that fake love, you know what I'm saying. We hear of this all the time, but this is even in the truth too. So going to verse 10, and it reads, be kindly affection one to another, yeah, with brotherly love, in honor, preferring one another. So true brotherly love is seeing your brother. You want to see your brother doing better than you, really. That's a true brotherly love. You know, and that's what this truth teaches us. This truth teaches that, because even when you go to Acts as well, when it talks about everyone coming together and putting all their, no one had more, no one had less, everyone had exactly what they needed. That's how we need to be in this truth. You know, and I just want to get one more as well. This is First Corinthians 10 and 24. First Corinthians 10, and because you'll see a lot of precepts going into this. The fact that you should be seeking um, your brother's welfare more than you. That's why it says, love thy neighbor as thyself. So if you want to be winning, if you want to be doing well, you want to be prosperous, you want to see your brother doing the same. So it says, let no man seek his own, but every man another's wealth. And that's not just money, because wealth could be wisdom. It's not just riches, carnal riches, tangible riches. Could also mean wisdom, knowledge, understanding. You know, anything that would better a brother's situation in this truth or in this life. And that's how we need to be. And one more, Sirach 29 and verse 20. Sirach 29 and verse 20. And it reads, help thy neighbor according to thy power, and beware that thou thyself fall not into the same. So, you know, if you're in a position to be helping your brother or your neighbor, you need to do it according, because you don't want to fall into that same predicament. And that's that loving your brother as yourself, because you don't want to see yourself in that same position. So you don't want to see your brother in that same position. There's also another preset. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna bring it out still. But yeah, we should always be seeking the next brother's welfare, and you know, anything to do, anything, riches, wisdom. You know, we should always be seeking that. But yeah, you got it, King.
Come on. And the sister put something, right? Shout out sister Kamala. She put something called tall poppy syndrome. See that? Criticizing or representing people who stand out or become successful, commonly used in Australia and New Zealand. You see that? Right? Tall. Yeah, you see that?
So,
Yeah, man. And Jake has a spirit, man. You see that? Like, you know. Oh, and we see that account, man. Right? That's in the Bible. That's in the Bible. Right? I say, and I don't have lazy scholarship and say, oh, well, hold on, you know, oh, right. And I'm to be honest, oh yeah, that, you know, they say no, Israelites didn't sell Israelites, but hold on, they sold, didn't they say, they sold Jacob, they sold Joseph, man. Oh no, they didn't show, no, they didn't. Hey, hold on, they sold their brother, man, right? So no, Israelites, no, that wasn't the Israelites. Bro, come on, man. Right, let's go to the book of. Go to 30s, probably in the 30s. Right, let's go to Genesis chapter 37 rather. Genesis 37. It's the book of Genesis. So this is an example, and the Bible. It's like the Bible is a foundation, right? Because this happened before there's any sort of tall poppy syndrome, right? Let's see if I probably type in the Bible. Right, it'll probably come up. Bible, Joseph. Right, you see that? Yeah. There we go. Joseph is his father's favorite and has dreams, right? Because he stands out. His brother's jealousy and resentment. And if you have resentment, that's a wicked spirit to have, you know.
yeah.
So when you're at Passover with the brothers, his sisters, even sisters, man, because sisters, sisters can be really petty, man. They say, she can't sit here. That's off. That's off. You have resentment, right? It says resentment drive them to plot his murder, strip him of his special coat, and sell him into slavery, right? So let's read that. This is Genesis chapter 37, and I'll start from verse. Look at this, man, because they were off, man. Right, they were off, and again, this is a behavior. Because remember, when you look at those mice, you know, they kind of inherit their, you know, the fear of the mouse before and whatnot. You know, same thing. We inherit these characteristics of envy in our brothers. Hey, we see that here, man. So this is Genesis chapter 30, right? 37. I'll read from verse 7. I'll probably jump down. It said, "For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my sheaf arose." Right? It says, "My sheaf arose, and also stood upright, and behold, your sheaf stood round about, and made obeisance to my sheaf." And this is prophecy of when his other brothers, right? They'd come into Egypt, and they would bow down to him. Right? This is a prophecy of that, you know, right? Because they would come to Joseph for, because remember there was famine in the land, 7 years of famine, 7 years of plenty. They would come into Egypt. Because remember, Egypt had the Nile, right? And obviously, you know, they kind of stocked up through the Most I put on the spirit of Joseph to stock up the, you know, the wheat, the bread, all these kind of foods to help them get through that famine, man. So that's why they would make obeisance to him. It says, verse 8, "And his brethren said to him, Shall thou indeed reign over us? Or shall thou indeed have dominion over us?" See that? "And they hated him, See that? Yet the more for his dreams and for his words. Imagine just, oh yeah, I can pick. And he's saying, you know, they don't obviously get the whole dream minute. They don't understand because they're being carnal. They say, hold on, you, right? You have a little. It was like David, man. David, the same example. Well, this David guy, David's tiny, man. I'm supposed to be a king, and they're kind of rolling up their damn arms and saying, look, Samuel. And Samuel said, no, not him. No, not this guy. He might be the henches, but not him, right? It says, so they hated him, right? Verse 9. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it. That's why you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful what you tell to people, man. You can't tell any and everyone, yeah, hey, man, I got this idea. And a brother that's sincere, you telling me that idea, he ain't gonna he's typing it down. Yeah, keep going, King. What'd you say? And he's writing down, he's writing down the idea, and he's about to do another thing, right? And use that, right? Brother should want to push you, right? And exhort you to, how can I help, man? You know, right? And told it his brethren and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And that sun and the moon, like it says in Revelation 12, you know, really going into that wisdom, right? That wisdom, that hope, that understanding, right? And the 11 stars representing those other tribes, man, right? Same thing in Revelation 12. It says verse 10, and he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee, to the earth? And obviously that sun and the moon kind of go, because remember, like the sun is more so like a masculine, you know, it has a masculine kind of spirit to it, and the moon, you know, you know, is a feminine, you know, just like it says, you know, the 12 stars and the moon, just literally mirroring what it says in Revelation, right? Reading on, it says, and his brethren envied him, but his father observed the same. So his father kind of, okay. And Jacob's not some you know, obviously he's not an idiot. He wasn't an idiot. He was simple and complete. So it says they envied him, right? Let's look at that word envy, right? Envied him, right? If you envy someone, it's that evil eye, man, right? You resent. See that? You resent and you desire for someone else's possessions, qualities, or good thought. Now you're looking at brother's wife. Yeah, how did you grinding your teeth? You say, how did you get that woman, man? Right? How did you get her? You're looking at that sister. You say, how did she do her hair like that? Right? Why's her hair like that? I need my hair. You start trying to take her hair and put it in your hair. Right? Right? And they would go on to sell him into slavery, man. Right? Trying to make it seem like he was dead. Right? Look at this. Let me jump to verse 18. They've done a whole some dark counsel against him. Right? This is Genesis chapter 30. And they told her that, remember, Joseph was a favorite. Right? Imagine you come back to Jacob. Oh yeah, you just lied to your father. Oh yeah, you know, we don't know where he's at, father. Right? Judah, oh my gosh. Right? Naphtali kind of cried. You know, right? You have to picture it, how it happened, man. Right? They just walked up to him, hey, we don't know where he's at. And they had to, you know what I'm saying? And our people are expressive. Right? They sold that to Jacob. Right? It's verse 18. Right? And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him. So some brothers, and they'll conspire against you, man. And that's really off. Right? It says to secretly plan with others to commit an illegal or wrongful act. And that's what that dark counsel that these guys, you know, our forefathers had, man. Right? And Reuben was the only one that kind of said, yo, hold on. And we ain't doing that. Right? So even in those, you've got to have integrity, man. You don't want to be, like the brother said about deceit. Right? And that's you don't want to be deceiving. And if you ever have problems with brothers, right, or sisters, because when we say brothers, really, it's universal, right? We know a brother isn't a sister, but it applies in the same exact way, right? So this is Leviticus 19, the classic, right? It says, "Ye shall not steal, neither deal falsely, neither lie one to another." It's a classic precept. You don't want to deal falsely with your brother. You're deceiving them, right? You don't deceiving your wife, right? Or you're deceiving your brother. You say you're gonna be there, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and then you don't do it, and that's dealing falsely, and that's not brotherly love. That's not upkeeping the spirit and fulfilling that royal law, man. You're just saying words, making oaths. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do, and you're not really doing that. That's not brotherly love. That's not fulfilling the royal law. That's not loving your neighbor as yourself. Oh yeah. I'm just keeping the law arc. I'm keeping the law arc. But you treat your work colleagues better than you treat your brothers, man. Yeah, Phil. Yeah, ha ha ha. You're going for ciders, right? Your Strongbow, or I don't know, man. Your Copperberg, strawberry and lime. You're going with Phil after work, right? But hey, you ignoring brothers, right? You ignoring sisters. You're damn out at the damn work party up in central London, hey, but you still ain't replied in the group chat. It's off. You still ain't replied. You're airing the messages, right? And obviously, and we have to be, understanding. Everybody's situation is different. Some people, they have children, so it's going to be understanding. Like, somebody's not able to make it, or to communicate every now and then. People have lives. People are not always going to be there every time. But we want to have that same treatment one towards another, man. And it's stuff I always tell my rib, man. Always say it to my rib, right? So this is Matthew 7 and verse number 12, right? Classic precept. It says, "Therefore all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets." Cry now about Christ fulfilled the law. Christ is telling you to keep the law, man, for your benefit, right? You want somebody to have love for you, right? That has to be used and applied by yourself, right? And I'll get one more and I'll pass it, man, because that's the royal law, man. The royal law is that brotherly love. That's the treat. That's the maybe you might get it, but the precept where it tells you the two greatest commandments is loving your neighbor as yourself. Because if you love your neighbor as yourself, you ain't down pocket watching your brother, man, or your sister. Oh, she makes the mightiest garments, and you're damn conspiring in the back of your head, right? Because you're seeing all the garments that she put up. How did she do it? And you damn sound like some damn Disney character that's trying to rival, the opposing shot that's across the road, right? And that's the damn. It's like the guy, man, in damn. I don't know, these Disney shows, man. That's what they do, right? Is the evil guy and whatever. Like, how did he do this? Oh my gosh, right? That's what they be doing, man. So this is James 2, and I'll start. And just for context, right? This is, it says, James 2 and verse 10. "For whosoever shall keep the whole law, and yet offend at one point, he is guilty of all." People say, okay, see, you're not. Hey, firstly, the context of this is talking about respect of persons. That's the law that's being spoken of at present. Don't. Let's not. And just off topic. Let's not conflate stuff. Right? It's talking about respect of persons. Right? Meaning what? If you keep the whole law, you're offending that one point, which is the respect of persons. That's what it's talking about. Right? So just for quick context. But we'll go to verse 8. It literally says in verse 9 as well. We'll read it. James 2 and 8. "If ye fulfill the royal law." So let me get one more precept if that's okay, Kim. Right? Okay? I don't know if I can hear you, but
Yeah, Slacker, I was on mute. Yeah, you got it.
okay. So this is James 2 and 8. "If ye fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well," man. Right? So the royal law is literally the law of loving your neighbor as yourself. And Christ told you that. That's the law and the prophets. That's written in the law, right? So when you see that brotherly love and sisterly love, and remember, just a quick point. The women, they had maids, man. Women just wouldn't, they don't just roll around by themselves. But women had maids, right? You know, even in war, the king had armor bearers. So there were people that were close to him and they were loyal people that were close to them that, you know, might have helped them, and then they go there and they do this, and, you know, right? So this is Leviticus 19. And so this is really going into that royal law. So it's Leviticus chapter 19. And I'll start from, because this is where it comes to loving your neighbor by yourself, you know. It says, thou shalt not, Leviticus 19 and 13, thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor. Now you're trying to do 419, deeds, right? Neither rob him. Now you're robbing your neighbor. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning, right? So again, I can't do it. So again, man, showing you the loving your neighbor as yourself is not what defrauding your neighbor, man. Right? Okay, I'm gonna. Yeah, you trying to tax your brother? Hey, you still getting taxed right now, man. Right? It says, I'm gonna jump down. Right? So this is really that royal law, but specifically, we'll jump to here. Right? It says, thou shalt not. So it can't do it. It's Leviticus 19 and 18. See that? I'll start at verse 17, the classic. And everyone should know this precept, right? But applying it, that's where we may struggle a bit, right? But this is Leviticus 19 and verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. So some people, they hate, and again, when somebody hates you in their heart, they're gonna express that. How they treat you, how they act, what they say to you, they're gonna express that. They don't need to say, okay, well, dear Tazapar, I hate you. Shalom. Right now you're looking for some cuss word in the Hebrew. Right? Shalom. I don't know, whatever. Right? They don't have to say that. They're going to show that through their actions, man. They ain't going to be there when you need them. They ain't going to communicate. They're going to disappear and be isolated, man. Like it says in Mark 5. Like the guy that was tormented with all those demons. The reason why he was isolating himself, right? They said no man could bind him, man. So he was comfortable and complacent in that spirit. But coming amongst Christ, and obviously brothers and sisters are so in Christ, hey, that's gonna do what, man? That's gonna cleanse that evil off you, man. Because we're so in Christ, right? It says, thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor. And this is the what brothers shutting their laptops. Now they're disliking the video. Sisters disliking, they saying, oh, but they can't rebuke. You can't judge me. You can't judge me. Right? We're not condemning anybody to death. We're just telling the law and giving the spirit of the law, right? So it's like, you can't rebuke me. What chapter says that? And then you go to 1 Corinthians 6, right? And you're bringing it out, right? We have to judge amongst ourselves, bro. You know, and we know what love is, man. We know what love is. If you don't know what love is, right? Love is rebuking your neighbor. And it doesn't mean you're just every day you're getting on your brother. He wakes up, hey, you're going off. He says, slack it, hey, you're going off. You just, you know. But some brothers, they try and find a fault, right? And then you have some brothers, on the contrary, you just send them a Bible verse, and they say, sending me verses, man. See, this is what I mean. This is what I mean. Brothers sending me verses. Hey, brother, send me a verse. I'm gonna say, all praise to the Most High. Now you're getting offended at somebody sending you a Bible verse. You say, no, he's sending me this verse, man. You start turning around, right? Start doing this, right? This is why I left that camp. Because they were sending me too many Bible verses. That's off. It's off. That's really off. And again, this is where you cannot mix the emotions with the precepts. Right? You tell a brother something and kind of, hey brother, hey, that's you. Brother start getting all emotional, right? So it says, and not suffer sin upon him, like it says in Sirach 20. You know, how good is it, to escape willful sin, right? Verse 18, thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, right? Thy people is the Israelites here. But thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, I am the Lord, right? So you love your neighbor as yourself, right? And this is going into that royal law, right? So straight up and down, the royal law fulfilling that is loving your neighbor how you love yourself. I don't want my brother to commit adultery, so I'm gonna give him the precepts. Likewise, he shouldn't want me to damn. He should rebuke me as well. And he say, oh no no no, oh that's Kapash. Oh yeah, he knows the Bible. Hey, we know brothers that know the Bible and still go commit adultery. So it just, it doesn't matter. But again, the reason why those things happen because of what? It's isolation, right? But Khan, you got it, King.
Yeah, you can't. And that's like you were saying. You can't have that defensive spirit. You got to watch those brothers and sisters that like things are getting brought up or brought to them, and before you anything's even come out, they're already saying something. No. That defense. It's a spirit. A lot of people have that in the world, man. You don't want to bring that in the truth too. Like, you kind of want to be humble, hear what needs to be said, then give your side of the story. If it's like that, because that's the true way to actually deal with your brother and sister, like it says in Matthew 18. You know, so I'm gonna quickly go to Exodus 20 and verse 16, and really the Ten Commandments are summed up in the two. If you want to really get you know deep with it, because the first four are actually to honor the Most High, and then the last six are actually to do with your neighbor and loving your neighbor and your brother or and sister. So it says Exodus 20 and verse 16, it says, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And going back to Leviticus 19 and 17 and 18, if you're not telling the truth, and you're not rebuking a brother if he's going on off, and you're suffering the sin upon him, then you're bearing false witness, really. Because you have to tell it like it says in Leviticus 5 and 1. If let me get that, actually. Let me get that. Leviticus 5 and verse 1. It reads, and if a soul sin, yeah, so this is going back to Leviticus 19 and 18. Um, it says, and if a soul sin and hear the voice of swearing, and is a witness, whether he has seen or known of it, if he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity. And that's really what it is. You're not telling your brother or sister that they're on the wrong path. Same with us. Like we're not perfect. In this thing, but we have to strive to be. So hearing another brother or sister actually you know telling the truth, and coming sincerely out of not just out of the Bible, but out of their heart, their sincere spirit, then that's how you really deal with your brother and sister. So it says again, if he do not utter it, then he shall bear his iniquity. So if you're not doing that, then you are actually bearing the iniquity of the sin that is on that brother and sister. You know. So let me go to Ephesians chapter 4. I'll start at 24. Yeah, it's Ephesians 4. I'll start at 23. It says, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. So we don't want to be carnal, and we don't want to be like, worldly in this. We need to be renewed in the spirit. And that renewing is seeing your brother in a different light, or sister, 24, it says, and that you put on the new man after after God is created in righteousness and true holiness. Wherefore, putting away lyings, speak every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. So yeah, we've got to put away that lying tongue. You know what I'm saying? And speak truth. That goes back to, you know, like the brother brought out in Leviticus 19 and 11. You can't lie. If you can't lie, you got to tell the truth all the time. There's no middle ground. You have to be real with it. It's like in the world. Yeah, 100. I'm gonna keep it 100. That vibe. That's
Yeah.
that's how they are in the world. So we got to be even more in the truth, especially when because a lot of our people like to swear on things like, yeah, I've actually heard that. I swear on God,
Swear down.
yeah,
And
yeah, but on God,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And now it's even worse because when you get like even in Chicago and them sort of areas there, like they're like, yeah, on a dead homie and that, talking about on this
Yeah,
and
yeah.
on that. It's got really. It's crazy. Out of all of the people and all the nations, only our people can be the worst when it comes to actually our own people. You know what I'm saying? So we need, and look, it says, "For we are members one of another." So we're all in this together, man. We can't separate, like, even in like gangs and that, like certain gangs. I think even over here it's more like that as well. They call it a family, you know. They have to do sort of, some rituals and get a beat down and all that, and then they pass the probation or whatever. And it's like once you're in, you can't leave, man. It's death.
You're
There's
passing,
nothing to say.
you're passing the prospect.
Yeah, yeah, and then and if there's no getting out of it. Do you see what I'm saying? That's how we gotta we gotta see this truth like that, man. There's gonna be a time where we're gonna be persecuted for this righteousness. Like it says in Amos. Is it Amos 5? Is that right? Amos 5, I believe, and 8. No, it's not 5 and 8. 5 was it? 5 and 11. Or was it? No, 5 and 10. That's it. It says, they hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. That's what's going to happen, man. Any truth and righteousness that is going to be, professed among the nations, amongst the nations through the prophets and you know, the children of Israel, the Israelites. It's gonna be hell, like everyone's gonna be against us. So we need to get right now, because obviously there's a lot of people ain't gonna make it. A lot of people ain't gonna make it, man. And going back to Ephesians 4 and verse 26. Yeah, Ephesians 4 and 26. So in 25 it says, we are all members one of another. 26. Be ye angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. So any faults you have with a brother or sister, don't let it hinder your spirit. That's just gonna make it worse. The Most High. If you can't forgive your neighbor, how is the Most High gonna forgive you? And we need to look at our brother like as if he's Christ. And that's just it, plain. We can't like fake this and just think that we can just wing it through. So let me get First John 3, and did you get this one? First John 3. Yeah, First John 3 and verse 12. First John 3 and verse 12.
Mm. You
So
sorry,
this
Luke.
is, yeah, First John 3 and verse 11. Where it reads, "For this is the message that ye heard from the beginning, that ye should love one another." You know, and that's all of us. That's a nation. That's not just our brother and brother. You know, you got the sisters over there, you got the brothers over there. No, we're all one. You know, we're all under one banner. You know, verse 12 it says, "Not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. And wherefore slew he him? Because his own works were evil, and his brother's righteous." Man, you know, and you know, like the brother was going into this before, like his works were evil. You know, he knew this as well. It wasn't like, you know, the same today. That same spirit is on our people today, where they would be, you know, you have two brothers, you know, they're you know, they grew up together, they're both doing madness in the world, like, you know, drugs or selling or whatever. And then, you know, I've seen videos like they'd be walking down the alleyway like normal, and then one would just pull out a thing and shoot him in his head, like, you know, like that. That's the same spirit that Cain had towards Abel. You know, reading on verse 13, it says, "Marvel not, my brethren, if the world hate you. We know that we have passed from death unto life, because we love the brethren. He that loveth not his brother abideth in death." So if you're not loving your brother, then you're still in this world. You're still, like it says, you know, in Deuteronomy 11 and 26, or 30 and 19, where it says, you know, choose life. Yeah, if you're not choosing your brother, yeah, you're still abiding in death. You know, verse 16, it reads, "Hereby perceive we the love of God, because he laid down his life for us." So Christ, you know, laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. You know, so, you know, that's again, like, you know, I keep going back to the, you know, that the world mindset. You know, you got brothers that, you know, like, that will say, "Yeah, I'll die for man." You know, like, I'll take a bullet for man. You know, this is what you see in the world in wickedness, and this is really, they're getting it from the truth. They're getting it from righteousness. You know, but they're just doing it in contrary. You know, verse 17 says, "But whoso have this world's good, and seeth his brother have need, and shutteth up his bowels of compassion from him, how dwelleth the love of God in him?" So yeah, if you've got stuff, you know, if you're doing okay, the Most High has blessed you in certain things, and you see your brother in need, and you're shutting it up, like, nah, you know, like, again, that's what happens. You know, that I want to help a brother out. You know, you know, got to do his. I got, you know, like, I did my thing. You got to do his thing, innit? Like, look. I can give you a line, innit? You know, get built back up. But that's not the true love. The true love is helping the brother in righteousness. You know, it says, "How dwelleth the love of God in him?" So yeah, you ain't got that love of God in you if you're not actually treating your brother as Christ. Yeah, and verse 18 it says, "My little children, let us not love in word,
Mm.
neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth." So yeah, you can't just be all this lip, sir. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I got you, man. You know, "Yeah, yeah, come, I got you." Now you're going to the shop, brother's just buying something for himself, and then, you know, like, you know, you don't want to say nothing. Like that, but that happens, man. In school, in, you know, like, you know, I'm sure everyone's been around when that stuff happens. You know what I mean? So we can't be just in words. You can't say, you know, love is not a word, say. You can't show love by just what you're saying, like your talk. It's an action based thing. You know, how you treat, you know, your fellow brothers and sisters, you know, that's how you know, prove, you know, and show your love towards them, and in deed and in truth, you know. But yeah, you got it, King.
And like you said, I remember those that were, in school, like in the UK, yeah, probably the same in it, wherever you're at, in it, bro. It was wicked. Like I remember, it was in secondary, yeah, and obviously, like when you have PE and that,
Mm.
and obviously everyone will hang up their blazers or whatever, innit, yeah. People obviously they leave their change in their pockets, bro. Bro, I remember people who obviously some people were doing like the finessing thing. They would take people's money, you know. They take people's money, right? Yeah, in the world, people were doing that, yeah. And then the guy will come, like, oh, someone taking my that £2 that he got. He had maybe £2. He pre-ordered that chicken and chips he was gonna get. That unclean, probably halal chicken and chips, yeah. He's like, oh, like, I can't find my £2. My £2 gone. These times, the guy that stole it, he's there. Oh, that's mad, bro.
Yeah,
That's
next to him, isn't it? Like, it's his friend and that. You know, stayed at his house on the weekend and
right,
that.
right. Oh, wow, swear down, bro. No, whoever took that, I said, madness, bro. Like, oh, that's crazy. That's what, man. That's what, that's why love is not. Oh yeah, like, oh yeah, that's my bro. That's my bro. Hey, like you said, it's indeed in what you do, your actions. You know, because that's dark, man. And even, there's a song and I've listened to before. It's by MF Doom, right? He says, yeah, I literally searched it on my phone. In the song, he says jealousy, it says jealousy, the number one killer among black folk, right? And his song called Deep Fried Friends, in it, And he's obviously talking. It says he uses this line. A lot of these songs are deep, man. He uses this as a line. He uses this line as a metaphor to warn listeners about the dangers of betrayal and false friendships. It says in the song, the artist raps how people often use the word friend too loosely. See that? He explains that instead of offering real support, fake friends can act out of jealousy, leading to serious trouble or even violence. So it says about, the metaphor being, by calling jealousy a killer, the artist is not stating a real medical fact or statistic. Instead, he means that allowing fake, jealous, or disloyal people into your life can ruin or end your life. So it's encouraging people to be careful of when choosing who they trust and to who to cut off. Toxic relationships. To protect yourself, innit. So, and the song's quite deep. A lot of songs they kind of have meanings on what they're saying, innit. Well, hey man, like, and when times get hard, hey man, brothers are gonna, hey, they might need to kind of get on you, man. They might need to kind of say stuff to lift you up, man. Right? So this is Job 3 and verse 4. Right? It says, "Behold, thou hast instructed many." I believe this was that brother said that's Eliphaz. He's an Edomite. Right? Firstly, these are going into the sons of God, but if your understanding is slow, you're gonna just say, "Cause hold on, right? A Temanite. I don't want to search it, but maybe we've got to do a lesson on who is Esau, right? Because again, this when I say our Temanite, well, this is Job in chronology wouldn't even be in the section that it's at, right? Firstly, like, I don't read the Bible and think, yeah, Haggai happened before this time, and you gotta look up the biblical timeline, man, right? But it says Job 4 and 3, "Behold, thou hast instructed many, and thou hast strengthened weak hands." So he's talking about Job. He said, look, hey man, you're might and weak. It's lovely to have brothers that can strengthen the weak hands, man. That's mighty to have people that can, and sisters, man, right? Because you never know, right, what that sister, what that brother,
right, is going through, man. Oh yeah, she's, she never has to deal with anything. You don't know what she's dealing with, man.
Mm.
Right? Brothers they talk about, their rib, maybe, it's hard for her with the children or it's this. Hey, that, and she's then now dealing with, helping other sisters, right? That's a I will praise to them all the time, man. Right? But there's a reason for that, right? So Romans 15:1, it says, we then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak and not to please ourselves. I think you said that as well. You brought it out, I think, in Romans. I think, and maybe 12. You said about not seeking, your own. I think
Yeah, Corinthians. I think it's First Corinthians 10.
10 and 24 or something like that. But we're supposed to, we that are strong, and we're supposed to help those that are weak, man. And everybody has strengths in something. Some brothers, even amongst the camp, man, you got some brothers that are excellent. You got father figures, man. You know what I'm saying? Brothers that are set up to, give good advice because they have that, longevity within their relationships. They have children. They have this. Brothers that are good with financial skills. Sisters that are able to do, about law. Sisters that know about, even, health and planting seeds and these kind of things. Hey, sisters have that expertise. It should be helping, others. Those that don't know, you know what I'm saying? Those that are weak, man. Right? Because you don't want to be, you're boasting of yourself. Yeah, look at me. Look how mighty I made this garment. Look how mighty I brought it out. Look how mighty. See how I cut that Christian. When you, say, no. You say, bro, saying, bring it out. No, I don't want to get cut. But hey, no, you got cut. They say you got cut. Right? Madness. Right? It says, verse 2. Let every one of us please his neighbor for his good to edification. So what we do, you trying to, convert someone, proselytize them, it's for their good. You know what I'm saying? Right? It's not to make ourselves seem mighty or to, okay, it's for their good, man. Right? To edification so that they can learn. Right? That's why it says about the scriptures, when we read it in context, that's why it says about these things are written for our learning. So when you're reading the accounts of the brotherhood, the sisterhood, how the sisters were, how the brothers were, it's written because this is how you're supposed to move. Right? Don't use damn Love Island for how because that's all just fornication, man. Right? You're now using Love Island how to damn deal with your brother. Oh yeah, I saw you kind of talking to, Sarah, and she, that's my girl, and now they start fighting. That's not the example we want to use. Right, verse 3. For even Hamashiach pleased not himself, but as it is written, the reproaches of them that reproach thee fell on me. Like, because, hey, those, and that's dark, man. So Christ carried that heavy burden. Like you said, you treat your brother how you would treat Christ. Yeah, you can't have respect of persons, man. I said, no, it's Christ. It's Christ. It's like saying, oh, it's David. Oh, hold on, it's David. Right? Because even Joab kind of got onto David, man. Right? You got to read these accounts. Joab got onto David. He said, hold on. Now, what the hell are you doing? Like, this is what, why would you seek to do, what seekest thou to do this? Right? This is 2 Samuel 24 and verse, this is no respect of persons, man. Even Joab, he later went, he went off, man. They went off, right? They made secret councils against Solomon and David, pretty much, right? But this is 2 Samuel 24 and verse, and you have to read about brotherly love. You have to read 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, right? They will that's, you see the loyalty that the mighty men, right? The three, right? They had, to David, even I think the Cherethites and the Pelethites, man, right? They had, even though they were foreigners, they had a loyalty to David, right? Because whatever spirit he was moving in, they're like, yeah, this guy, yeah, man, we got to stay with this guy, Though we're heathens to them, he's the guy, man. And they then stayed with Solomon as well, right? This is 2 Samuel 24 and verse 3. I remember. So David was trying to number Israel,
right? And he went off and doing this, and it said there was a plague, and I believe it was like 70,000 people had died because of this, right? This is 2 Samuel 24 and verse 3. And Joab said unto the king, now the Lord thy God add unto the people how many soever they be, an hundredfold, and that the eyes of my lord the king may see it. But why doeth my lord the king delight in this thing? So he said, hold on, what the hell are you doing? Like, Salakia, what's all this about? Right? He didn't just say, okay, yeah, well. And there was times where there's times where, David kind of said to Joab, like to the sons of Zeruiah, he said, hold on, man, what do I help? You guys are going off. I can't really deal with you guys. You guys are too much. There's times, but there was also times when, the David's literally elite army, right? The Imperial Guard, if you want to call it that, right? They kind of appeased the king, man. They knew how to appease the king, right? It says, so, why do you delight in doing this thing? So they questioned the king, right? So he wanted to number Israel, right? And him numbering Israel, really, he just, again, because when you go into the law, it's kind of deep to go into, but when you go into the law of numbering, he wasn't doing it, there's a war coming up, right? Because there's a law on the cause of why you would be numbering Israel, right? He went off, right? Just jump to 1 for the context as well, right? Verse 1, it said, see that? Verse 1, and again the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he moved David against them to say, go number Israel and Judah. You see that? So that was obviously off, right? That I may know the people. You see that in verse 2. But point being, like it says in Job 4 and 3, thou has instructed and strengthened many. So our words, they can instruct, they can build up, right? They can, like it says, build up, destroy, pull out, to sow, right? That's how powerful our words are, man. It says, verse 4, thy words have upholden him that was fallen, and thou hast strengthened feeble knees, right? It says, verse 5, but now it has come upon thee, and thou faintest, it toucheth thee, and thou art troubled. So some you try to tell a sister something, right? You try to tell a sister something, now you're damn telling sister, hey, right? Or again, because this is the whole point of the law. It's treating your brother or your sister in the same manner that they would do unto you. When you're in that moment, you got to do this, you got to do that. And sometimes you might not always want to hear that, but you got to kind of deal with it, man. I don't want to hear it. No, I don't want to done. Hey, you got to hear it, man. Right? And I think the sister kind of asked a quick question, right? She said, what was wrong with him? So, just quickly, right? David, right? Because I did search this, right? It's because really, when you go into it, the whole numbering thing is really to do with, let me just type it in. Sin in 2 Samuel. See, it wasn't like, again, for war or whatever, right? It wasn't. I'll let it speak. It says, was instead of trusting, again, it's the faith in it. He didn't trust in the Most High. He trusted in the on human strength rather than, okay, this is the Most High. Because remember, it says the Lord shall fight for you. So he put his faith in, just like, it's almost like idolatry, isn't it? You're putting your faith in a carnal thing and say, okay, this is going to deliver me. Or this, Moses' body, let's get the body, that's going to save us. That's not the thing that's going to save you. It's the Most High that's going to deliver you out of, X, Y, and Z. So he was relying on human strength, right? And the military power rather than trusting in the Most High, So, and even when you go into that Exodus 30, right, I'll just get it quick and then I'll pass it to you, Tassapart, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Even when you go into Exodus 30, it tells you that you're supposed to give each soul really is supposed to pay like you're paying a toll, basically, right? It's Exodus 30 and verse. You're supposed to give a ransom, right? It's Exodus 30 and 12. And when you read in that same account, you'll see that after there's a ransom given, the plague was stayed away, right? So not to be too long winded on that point, but so this is Second Samuel 24, and obviously the Most High gave him the option, like, what do you want to happen, right? Um, Second Samuel, where should I start from? And he gave again, there was an altar that he built, right? There was an altar that he built, obviously, to kind of appease the Most High, through that, right? Like it says in verse 25, and David built there an altar unto the Lord and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. So the Lord was entreated for the land, and the plague was stayed away from Israel. So, you know, see that? So again, that appeased the Lord. And when you read Exodus 30 and 12, when thou takest to some of the children of Israel after their number, then shall they give every man a ransom for his soul unto the Lord when thou numberest them, that there be no plague amongst them when thou numberest them. So you're supposed to give a ransom per person that's being numbered, in essence, right? But can't. So yeah, man, I kind of yield on that point. I pass it, but point being, you can't be offended. You say like, and we don't want to be so easily offended, by what people say to us, and like brothers argue, man. That's normal, man. And then like from arguing with somebody, you grow to understand. You grow to understand that person. We don't want to just be like yes men. We just say yes, and we disagree, and it's fine, right? You don't have to always agree. And again, Nathan kind of said this, man. Sometimes it's not about how you say it. It's not about what you say. It's about how you say it. But we don't want to. We don't. Hey, disagreeing is perfectly fine, right? Disagreeing is perfectly fine. But can't you got it, Kim?
No, can't like that precept as well, where it talks about rebuke not thy neighbor at the wine, because obviously you might get a bit offended and that, so it's like, again, going back to how you say it, not exactly what you're saying, you know what I'm saying. So yeah, read that. Sirach 31 and verse 31 says, rebuke not thy neighbor at the wine, and despise him not in his mirth. Give him no despiteful words, and press not upon him with urging him to drink. So yeah, when a brother's in mirth, or sister, like, how what you might say could kind of stir up some strife. So yeah, you kind of want to, you know how to articulate your words, and how to deal. I'm sure brothers and sisters have got jobs, and they've got, you're in the world, like you have to, deal with other nations, and you've got clock in, clock out, like there's a way to carry yourself in it. And I'm not using the heathen and these other nations as an example of how to be with your own brother, but there's a time and a place in it. You know what I'm saying? If this is talking about rebuking a neighbor at the wine, when he's in his mirth. So I want to go to was it First John 4 verse 20. This is the book of First John chapter 4 and verse 20. It says, if a man say, I love God, and hateth his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother, whom he hath seen, how can he love God whom he have not seen? So yeah, you can't even be, you can't even say, yeah, you're in this truth, you love God, and you're not, hating your brother is not like, like seeing him as an enemy, or seeing him as a enemy towards you, and that's not what hating your brother is. Hating your brother could be literally not telling him when he's going off, or when just giving counsel. If you're not there for your brother in that sense, that's hating him. You know, how can you know, how can you say you love God and hate your brother? You know, when you've seen your actual brother, like he's meant to be a living, proof of the Most High and Christ, Yahweh Shai. You can't love him. How are you gonna love the Most High? You know, and that's quite deep still. But it the more you're in this, the more simpler it actually seems, because that's how you love the Most High, by loving your brother as well. Because you can do things for your brothers and sisters. You can be there for them. You can meet up with them. Keep feast days. Go out. Be there. Counsel. We've got phones. We've got WhatsApp, even across the world now. Like, we're all keeping contact across the world. You know what I'm saying? So there's no reason for you to be in this thing on your own. That's where, like the brother was saying earlier, that's where Satan can like kind of have his way with you, man. The Satan's always gonna try and pick the weakest link. He's not gonna pick the brother that's strong in this thing, like, foundation steady, foot 10 toes down, fasting, praying, rooted in this truth. He's gonna pick the one that's lazy, not always studying, not always, fasting, and that's what happens. Everyone can be a victim of this. But how you, like it says in Proverbs, a just man falleth 7 times, but a wicked man, he would just end up just always going into mischief, paraphrasing. So it's like what you do after you drop, that's what the Most High wants to see, man. So verse 21, First John verse 4 and verse 21. And this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God loveth his brother also. So really, again, we see it many times. We need to love our brother as we love the Most High, as you love yourself. It's all in one. Like it's like we don't do Trinity over here, but
Right.
that's going into. You know what I'm saying? You want to be one, on one accord. Like knitted together as one man, like it says in Judges. So let me get Proverbs chapter 18. Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 24. Proverbs 18 and verse 24. It says, a man that have friends must show himself friendly. Yeah, so when you got friends, you can't be that one in the group chat that's not really saying anything, innit?
Oh,
You've got friends, everyone goes out and come together, you're not there. You're just known for not being there, innit? Like, you have to show yourself friendly. You got to get in this thing, you kind of, not everyone's gonna like everyone. Everyone's got different spirits. Go on.
hey, you can't be that damn mysterious guy, man. You just in the back. You just never say enough. The brother's kind of talking, and then you just there like this, hands in your pocket, just kicking the rocks. Just weird, man. Wow, that's
Yeah.
weird.
Thinking of that precept, isn't it? Like, like no, what's it? Open that mouth when it's known to do good. Paraphrasing, like, you can't. You gotta, what I mean. You gotta be yourself. Because there's all different spirits out here. Like it says in First John 4:1. Like you gotta try the spirit. We all, we're not trying to be man pleasers here. We're just trying to, help each other get to the kingdom, because that's really what it's all based on. That's the whole goal of the Israelites. You know, I wouldn't even say mankind or human. It's not got nothing to do with it. Yeah, brothers and sisters need to come together in order to help each other get to that end goal. You know, so Proverbs 8:24 says, "A man that hath friends must show himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother." That's that same account like with Jonathan and David. You know, there's a friend that sticks closer than a brother, like your blood brother. You know what I'm saying? And that's and they say that again in the world. You know, like that what they say. What's it? A brother from another mother. You
Mm.
know, but really that goes back to like the 12 tribes. You know, because they all had there was a few of them had different mothers, but they all had the same father, innit? They had
Yeah.
the same spirit. But yeah, we want to stick close, like a brother, man. And you shouldn't feel in any way to like, let your I won't say emotions out, but your feelings out. And we're all dealing with certain things, and that's how we help each other. You know. And I'm gonna go to Proverbs 17:17. This is Proverbs 17 and verse 17. It says, "A friend loveth at all times, and a brother is born for adversity." So that same brother that's gonna stick, that same friend that's gonna stick close like a brother, yeah, he's gonna be there at all times. It's not, he's not gonna miss your call and not call you back. He's gonna be there at all times. And the brother is born for adversity, and that's what's going to be happening soon, man. We're coming to the end days. There's going to be adversity. We're not going to be able to get through it on our own. Like, brothers are going to have, their wives, children. That we're going to need to be there for each other, like more than ever now. So let me get Sirach as well. Sirach 28 and verse 2. Sirach 28 and verse 2. This is Sirach 28 and verse 2. And it reads, "Forgive thy neighbor the hurt that he hath done unto thee. So shall thy sins also be forgiven when thou prayest." So again, like we see a lot of times where it talks about alms, covereth a multitude of sins, charity, but here forgiving your neighbor as well, like the hurt that he have done unto you. Really you know, how, how, how much can a brother really hurt you other than really the only thing that come to my mind is adultery. Really, that's why you were put to death for that in the ancient world. That's why that was a sin unto death. But what really can a man do to a brother, like your own brother, enough for you to not be able to forgive him? We had a brother come up the other day at camp, and he was saying about he had a woman that done him wrong, and it took him like 6 weeks. He said he was fasting 6 weeks. Obviously, he didn't understand the true fasting, but even still, he was in that spirit, because, even just fasting for a certain amount of time in that spirit, even though he was drinking water, but the spirit that he was in was the spirit of forgiveness. So he said it took him a long time. Like, I don't know what this woman done to him, but he said he forgave her through the spirit of the Most High, through this word is what was able to forgive her, you know. So and then it says, "So shall thy sins also be forgiven when thou prayest." So yeah, man, you know, any little thing. What I'm saying? There shouldn't be anything that's bad enough for you to not be able to forgive your brother or sister. You know what I'm saying? Other than, like I just said, if, adultery, that's madness still. Like, you can't, just, yeah. I won't even get into that. That's crazy still. So as you can, verse to verse, was it 3? Yeah, go to verse 3, then, right? It says, one man beareth hatred against another, and doeth he seek pardon from the Lord. Again, going back to that precept that we just went through, it's like, how can you expect forgiveness from the Most High if you can't even forgive your neighbor? And you've got hatred against your neighbor when he's really the living embodiment of Christ and the Most High. How can you seek pardon from the Most High? Verse 4, it says, he showeth no mercy to a man which is like himself. Again, our brother. We're not talking about the Edomite that jumps out of planes and hunts down flipping tigers and lions. That's not like himself. That's not what we do. It says, which is like himself, and doth he ask for forgiveness of his own sins. So if you're not going to have mercy on your brother, which is like yourself in the same predicament, like this crabs in the bucket vibe, how can you ask forgiveness for your own sins? You know, and then if you can skip to verse 7, Brother Kashar, skip to verse 7, it says, remember the commandments and bear no malice to thy neighbor. Yeah. Remember the covenant of the highest and wink at his ignorance. So yeah, we can't be bearing malice towards our neighbor, and we have to remember the covenant. The covenant is the brotherly love that we need to keep. Even if a brother has done you wrong, you have to forgive him. You don't have to be friends, but it's still your brother. You can't even if you think that, have that vibe, towards a brother. That's off. Like, the birds are gonna take that to the Most High,
Right.
and that's on you. You get it? That's on you. And wink at ignorance. So one more. I'll keep one more. Slacker. Sirach 24, Sirach 24 and verse 33. Sirach 24 verse 33. It says, I will yet pour out doctrine as prophecy and leave it to all ages forever. Behold, that I have not labored for myself only, but for all them that seek wisdom. So this this knowledge and this understanding that's been laid out through the elders, going back all the way to the children of God, Seth and Adam. Yeah, this knowledge, and we don't labor for ourselves only. We labor for those that seek the wisdom, that seek that kingdom, like it says in Matthew, is it 6 and verse 63? Like it out.
What you look?
Seek ye first the kingdom.
Yeah, Matthew 6.
Yeah, can't. So we labor for our brothers and sisters, that seek the wisdom. And that's another way of, like it says, that's another form of charity, which ultimately will cover a multitude of sins. We need to work all this out, man. We need to put this puzzle together in order to, you know, like, I know it's a crazy flipping analogy, but like in like Mario or something, we need to build up them coins, store up them treasures in heaven, which is our alms, your charity, your brotherly love, you know, your serving the Most High, keeping His commandments. But yeah, you got it, King.
Right, man. And right, it's just, yeah, man. Brother's saying a lot. Brother's saying a lot, man. Like, and loyalty is a key part of that. Loyalty, and let me get this first actually. Right? Loyalty is a key part of that because the times we're heading into, right? It's not. Hey, that's the whole point of brotherhood being established. So in those times, hey, you're able to get through those times, man. It's not just brotherhood just to stand up at camp and just read the Bible or feast day. You're dressing up and matching the colors and right. Even sisters, man. It's for that those perilous times that are due to come on the earth, man. Right? Everyone's worried about that. Oh, did Messi didn't Messi or Spain and all this bread and circus. But hey, they're bombing each other on the other side of the world, man, right now. No one's worrying about that though. No one's worrying about the score over there. Right? This is second Ezra 16 and 39. Even so, shall not the plagues be slack to come on the earth? Shall not the plagues be slack to come on the earth, so like, yeah, upon the earth? And the world shall mourn. See, that everyone's cheering right now. Everyone's cheering, oh, Messi, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, oh, yeah, Bellingham, right? Lamine Yamal,
Yeah.
right? Watch the baby and the picture, and you know, all of this is just a stage. Like, how you gonna have these people that are worth Messi? Yeah, he made 1.1 billion, right? And they showed a video. His mom's living in some shack. His grandma's living in some shack somewhere in Argentina. Right? What the hell is this guy doing? Why is he crying? Fam, there's people in, like, you know, in the UK and NHS. Hey, that NHS, right? That NHS, hey, they probably need the money more, man. But some guy, he runs around, he slide tackles. Right? That's what's more important, man. So it says the world shall mourn and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. You can't escape that. I say, I'm going to go in the bunker. I'm going to go meet Donald Trump. I'm going to go there. Hey, you can't escape it. It says verse 40. O my people, hear my word and make you ready to the battle. And in those evils, be as pilgrims upon the earth, man. So we got to prepare our mind state for that. And that's what that loyalty, that's what that will do, man. Right? So you have to have that loyalty, man. You don't want to be like Joab, right? Joab, Abiathar, right? And what's his other damn? What's his name, man? Joab, Abiathar, and you had one of the sons of David, Adoniah, right? These guys were off, right? He basically tried to, you know, break the prophecy, right? So this is 1 Kings 1, and look at this. So 1 Kings 1 and verse 7. And he conferred with Joab the son of Zeruiah and Abiathar the priest, and they following Adoniah helped him, because Adonijah, right, he was really trying to take the throne, because David was coming, he's getting weak now. You know, they tried to send a girl to kind of you know, minister unto him, right? But he knew her not, it said, right? And you know, he said, look, I'm going to be the king. He stepped up and he started trying to use certain men, right, that were following David, right? Joab, they were mighty. Abiathar, these were mighty men. But you had certain elect men, right? It says, but Zadok the priest and Benaiah the son of Jehoiada and Nathan the prophet, Shimei and Ray and the mighty men which belonged to David were not with Adoniah. So they were like, hold on, no. They ain't getting down with that, man. And you even had the heathen, right? They kind of said, hey, that we ain't following my man. We don't know him, right? Until the king actually says, you know, who the king is. Hey, that's who we're gonna follow, right? So that's the loyalty that men, you know, us as a nation, we need to have, man. Because like I said about that battle, man, of those evils in the earth, right? You know, so we have to have that spirit of loyalty, right, and reliability on each other, man, right? And that's that, as simple as it may be. That's that Hebrews 13 and 16, man. That communication, right? Let's get that Ecclesiastes, right, 4 and 9, right? The classic, man, right? It's Ecclesiastes 4 and 9. Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor, not my labor, not his labor, for their labor, right? So their labor is because what, man? They things always, when you do stuff with people, not just for them, even doing for something for somebody, it could be for edification, man. Right? That's for both of you, man. It says, going back to it, right? You had, and these men, they didn't follow, and they were scared, man. When you read this account, David, Nathan the prophet, and I believe it's Bathsheba, and they went to David. They said, look, right, we're gonna remember you said that Solomon was gonna rule, and then these men, they got all scared, man. Right? So you see how you had Benaiah, right? The Cherethites, the Pelethites, right? They followed after Solomon. They didn't follow after Adoniah. And he tried to, he had, and just even, for Sister Carmel as well, you could probably, similar point. When you go, in every case, you can't try and just run to mercy as well, right? Because that's what Adoniah done. Right, he tried to run, because that's the sanctuary essentially where the tabernacle was. That's a place where there's no, you can't be pulling out damn swords and whatnot in that place, right? There's no one, you can't. You're gonna die there. You couldn't. It's not somewhere that could be done. The only really shedding of blood really was the sacrifices, right? So that's where he, it's a sign of trying to seek mercy, right? So that if you search it up, it'll tell you the holding of the horns. It's about a sign of seeking mercy. That's why Solomon had mercy on him, right? He said, look, if he's gonna be wicked, but if wickedness shall befall him, he shall be found, he shall die. Right? But point being, loyalty, man. You gotta have loyalty, and you gotta know how to appease your brothers, man. All right, let's go to the book of 2 Samuel, right? Chapter 14, let me say. Right, 2 Samuel, chapter 14, and let's go to 2 Samuel, chapter 14, and I'll start from verse. You could even start from 1 in this. See that? So 2 Samuel, and this is how brothers will know each other, sisters will know each other. Right, 2 Samuel 14 and 1. Now Joab the son of Zeruiah perceived that the king's heart was toward Absalom, because obviously Absalom, he was off, trying to take the throne, right? Wickedness and just evil that he had done, right? Literally, Joab, he perceived that, so he used a woman from one of the villages, and because he understood that David, he didn't hate his son, man, right? He didn't hate his son, but obviously he was displeased in the acts that he had committed, man. That's why when you read, I believe in verse, in the war the civil war that happened, David said, Absalom, my son, right? So, David's mighty men, they knew how to appease him, man. And even, man, Uriah, right? Uriah, and Uriah was an Israelite. Is how it wasn't, right? Uriah, that's loyalty, man. He said, what did he say? He said, the ark's not here, right? The king's here, and I'm not moving, right? This is, and David just committed adultery, right? It's in 2 Samuel 11 and 8. And David said to Uriah, go down to thy house and wash thy feet. And Uriah departed out of the king's house, and there followed him a mess of meat from the king. But Uriah stepped at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord and went not down to his house. So he was like, yo, man, I ain't moving. And that's that loyalty, that Uriah had, and David's mighty men, they had, man, right? And sometimes that loyalty, it was overbearing, man. David, he said it himself. He said, what do I have to do with you sons, man? Right? Because sometimes that may not always be the course of direction. That might not be of the spirit, man. You're stabbing people in their fifth rib. Right? Joab, hey, be careful. You don't want to meet someone like Joab late at night. right? You know, or Abishai. You say you cursed the king, right? But you know, let me read on. It says verse 10. And when they had told David saying, Uriah went not down into his house, David said to Uriah, camest thou not from thy journey? Why then didst thou not go down unto thy own house? So he's kind of saying, yo, like, are you not tired, bro? Are you not tired? You was just in the gym. You must be tired. Go home, man. Right? This is what Uriah said. And Uriah said unto David, the ark and Israel and Judah abide in tents, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are encamped in the open fields. Shall I then go into my own house to eat and to drink and to lie with my wife? As thou livest and as thy soul livest, I will not do this thing. And that's a high level of that's loyalty, man. Right? David's probably, hey man, you got obviously committed adultery, probably I can't get rid of. That's why he had to send him out to the front line to get him killed, man, because he was too loyal. He said, this guy, man, the king's not there, right? Why am I going to my house, right? So you gotta have that kind of spirit, being loyal, right? And likewise, sisters, you gotta have that spirit of being loyal to one another, man. That's loving one another as you love yourself, man. Right? Brothers, nah, no one was there. Hey, I remember this brother, yeah, he said, done what he done. You ask him, like, what happened? Nah, brothers weren't really there for me. Brothers weren't there for me. No, you wasn't there for yourself, man. Because you didn't want to use the precepts and speak up, man. Right, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 20. You don't want to be an isolator, right? Sirach 20 and 16. The fool saith in his heart. See that? The fool saith, I have no. I said the fool saith in his heart. Sirach 20 and verse 16. The fool saith, I have no friends. I have no thank for all my good deeds, and they that eat my bread speak evil of me. That's someone that's got an impaired understanding, man. Right? You're just making that up as you go along. Oh yeah, they hate me. That's a loser, a spirit, man. You gotta rebuke that. Like, oh, they hate me. This brother hates me, and his sister doesn't like. Well, go speak to this Matthew 18 and 15 to 18, man. Go speak to the sister. Go chat to the brother. Oh, he hates me. Oh my gosh. You're crying, right? You're 30. You're crying. Oh, he hates me. And he doesn't. But you don't want to actually go and be a daughter of Sarah or a man and address the fact that, you just want to isolate, man. Right? And that's why in these days, in these last days, your brotherhood, your sisterhood has to be on fire, man. Right? This is Sirach 3 and verse number 24, man. It says, for many are deceived by their own vain opinion, and an evil suspicion have overthrown their judgment. So see, some people, right? They never asked anybody. They never applied Matthew 18. They just applied, oh, this is what I think. This is what I think. I feel. Right? I feel that, hey, it's not about what you feel. Go and show thyself a man and go ask and speak to that brother. Speak to that sister. Right? You got to gird up, like it says in Job 38 and I think 3. Hey, you got to show yourself a man. You might be going through hardship. Hey, you lean on you lean on each other. Like it says, man. Right? Job 38 and 3. Gird up now thy loins like a man, for I will demand of thee and answer thou me. So even sisters, they saying, oh, I don't have loins to gird up. Hey, gird up your head wrap then, man. Right? Gird up your head wrap. Right? Gird up your whatever. Right? Sometimes it's healthy I'm not saying to argue, but in a sense it is healthy to argue, man. Right? It's healthy to disagree. We're not here to just be yes men. We're here to be sincere to one another, man. You know what I'm saying? Right? We're here to be sincere, to love one another. You gotta gird up your head wrap. Right? But let me right, you're trying to move like you don't have friends or don't have. Hey, and Paul,
And, Paul visited all these different churches, man. What kind of and sometimes like it says, I think it says in Acts, they had a contention that was so deep, right? Him and Barnabas, they kind of had to separate, man. Right? Let me see that, right? The contention. There was a contention between Paul and Barnabas. Man. Barnabas, he kind of left, right? He said Barnabas, yeah, Barnabas was off. Right? I'm not saying he was off, right? But you know, he kind of he left Paul, man. Right? You know, I believe it was Mark. I think there was one of them. Right? See that? Who left Paul in the Bible? I think it might be Mark. Right? Was it Mark? Was it Demas? Yeah. See that? Yeah, John Mark. Yeah. See. So they don't know why. It doesn't say why. Maybe he was. My tummy hurts. Oh. And remember, Paul must have been on fire. Paul's trying to get the brethren, build up the churches. You got one brother. Oh, my tummy hurts. Oh.
You didn't go with him, innit?
Yeah, right. Hey, oh, my tummy. Oh. Oh, I don't think. Imagine telling Paul's down getting bitten by serpents, man, by scorpions. Right, he's getting the boats overturning. Right, that's a brother you want, man. He's going through all these hardships, the boats overturning. And you got this one guy, oh, my belly hurts. My belly. Oh, no. Oh, Paul, I don't think. Paul would have kind of looked at him like kind of confounded. He don't know what to say. Right? So this is Acts 30, Acts 15 and 39. Right? So look, this verse, I start at 37. It says, and so they kind of split up basically, Acts 15 and 37. And Barnabas determined to take with them John, whose surname was Mark. So that's that John Mark, right? Verse 38. But Paul thought, see, because, and it's discernment. Some brothers, you kind of, it's mysterious. Now he's disappearing into the night. He's walking up and down the high street. He's still bringing it out, right? Still bringing it out, brother. He gets shallow up. He's shalom. He disappears up one way of the road, then he goes back down the other way, and he shalom. You don't know what this guy's doing, man. Right? He's doing overtime. His brother disappears up the block, comes back down the road. And you're thinking, hold on, this brother didn't even come. He didn't even leave that way. He didn't arrive that way. He came from that way. So where's he going now? Right, mysterious spirits, man. It says verse 38, but Paul thought not good to take him with them, who departed from them from Pamphylia and went not with them to the work. So he didn't want to. Oh, no.
The labor.
Yeah. He said, my belly. You're the man there. Oh yeah, I got an injury. Oh yeah, you know, something came up, and there's always just something came up, right? Just something. Like, not saying you gotta reveal everything. Like, obviously, you might kind of say, okay, like family, this. What? Hey, that's. Now he's saying, oh, something came up. Oh, what? Now he's saying, what happened? Like, what happened? Oh, don't worry, you know, but it's just something. It's sus. What do you mean? What happened? Right? Oh, my belly. Now you're calling the brother. Oh, you come in camp. Starts coughing. Yeah, Shalom, King. Charlotte beating his chest. Oh, right? They call the sister. She's supposed to help you. And Shalom says, she's sniffling. You know, I couldn't. She kind of got the flu or something. So you got to kind of discern that trickery spirits in that. You know. Oh yeah. Yeah. Now my belly. Just some weirdness, man. Right? It went not with them to the work, man. Right, it says verse 39, and the contention was so sharp between them that they departed asunder one from another, and so Barnabas took Mark and sailed unto Cyprus. So Paul said, look, you're gonna bring him, and he's not coming. This guy, he already left us, and obviously Barnabas really should have discernment to say, yo, hold on, this is the same guy that left us, you know. But you got it, King.
Yeah, and that's the spirit that you brought that up, because it's like the same sort of scenario as like going to war and
Right.
man not turning up.
Right.
Yeah, because it's like obviously this is the work. The work is the labor, and that labor entails, you know, a battle, man. We need to be soldiers, man. We got to all be there for each other, man. You know, like 300 is a very good film, man. I need to watch that again.
You know.
The way they are all together, it's like I always remember the scene where it's like where the little hunchback tries to come and Leonidas, and he's like, yeah, lift up your shield. He can't even lift his shield up, and he's like, look, the my like the one man shield is the next brother's defense. You
Mm.
know, so if we're not all there, then there's a breach. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's basically that's the vibe that Paul was really going into, because it's like obviously Mark didn't go with them, and he was like, all right, cool, he didn't go with them then. But then when they bucked up again, he's like, nah, 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 like, I'd rather not. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He didn't come with the work this time, so like, do you know what I'm saying? And that's basically what it is. Really, everyone's got their lot, but we all need to strive to be there for one another, whether it's through adversity. Go on, you got it.
So, like, real quick, and look what it says in verse 40. And Paul chose Silas, and he and departed, being recommended by the brethren unto the grace of Yahweh. So, hey, whoever Silas was, hey, he must have had a good name.
Yeah, he had a good report. He was turning up. He had his shield up. He could lift his shield. You know what I'm saying? He had on the armor. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what we need. We need soldiers, man. Like it says, let's get that one in. Was it First Timothy,
Second Timothy.
Second Timothy, chapter 3? Is it 3?
Uh, 2.
2. Yeah, that's it. Second Timothy 2. It says, therefore, 2 and verse 3, it says, that thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. A soldier that endures hardness. It's not going to be easy, man. These wars that we're fighting, we're not fighting just physical, God forbid it happens, but we need to be ready for that. But it's the war, it's the spiritual war that we're fighting, man. We're fighting all sorts of demons on the highways and byways. We're already fighting demons ourselves, like at home during the week. Now we've got to go and freaking deal with the worst of the worst. All different nations just coming like that man in that tomb, the man in the tomb, like cutting himself and that. These are the spirits that we have to deal with. Is there any more on that?
Yeah.
Can't. So verse 4, it says, no man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who have chosen him to be a soldier. So really and truly, when it comes down to the battle, like what Paul was saying with Mark, when he went to labor and do the work, he wasn't thinking about, like chest pains and, like coughing and cough and whatever reason he didn't go. He wasn't thinking, we don't want to entangle ourselves with the worldly affairs, which is, i.e., your household, your wife, your children, like a lot of these films, because this is, the films are what we can use to kind of sum up our ancient mindset, really, because we don't go to war like that now. Like nowadays, war is like guns and flipping, what I mean, guns and tanks and that. Esau's got it on that vibe. But back when we were ruling, or in the ancient times, it would be warfare. You know what I'm saying? It'd be sword, buckler, you know what I'm saying, daggers, all of that. You know what I'm saying? Man's not going to war thinking about laying down with his woman, the night before, You know what I'm saying? Or later on, hugging his children while he's on the battlefield. That'll get you killed. That'll actually get you killed. You got to put all that away. That's why these precepts are really, really good. You got something.
Yeah, for you still.
So yeah, like that's why certain films, like especially going into war, they kind of tell you that, man. They kind of show you, yeah, like you can't be, that's a weakness. You can't have any weaknesses. You know what I'm saying? And you got that. Yeah, that's it. Calm. Deuteronomy 20:8. It says, "And the officers shall speak further unto the people, and they shall say, What man is there that is fearful and faint-hearted? Let him go and return unto his house, lest his brethren's heart faint as well as his." So fear is contagious. Like if you're scared that you're not gonna make it home and you've got children and that, the officers are telling you, look, go home, innit? There was what was it? You just planted a vineyard, if you just married a woman,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like these are the things where you wouldn't go to war in that year. But you know, if you're fearful, yeah, you can't come out. You can't come out on this and do the work really. The Most High didn't give us the spirit of fear. Do you know what I'm saying? Love conquers fear. And love that love is that same love of loving your brother. Because you will lay down your life for your brother. That's not, you're not scared about giving up the ghost. For your brother. So let me get Genesis chapter 49. Genesis chapter 49. You didn't get this one, have you?
No.
Genesis 49 and verse 1. It says, And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you which which shall befall you in the last days. And again, we're living in the last days. This is a prophecy that we're going through now. And we need to gather together. You know, we need to literally gather together. You know, nation not desired. We're not desired. We're looked at as just a low class people because we just always killing each other, shooting, stabbing each other, looking at each other red eye, when these other nations see us on the street, they're just, oh, look at the stem again. You know what I mean? Like they hate us. But this is even more reason for us to gather together. And in verse 2 it says, Gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. So, we need to hearken unto Israel our father. And this he put all through him and his father and his father and our forefathers, these things have been written for us to, you know, take heed, man. Take heed. So let me get James. I'll get two more still. Yeah, James chapter 5 and verse I'll start at 16. You know, this is everyone should read this constantly, man. So James is a serious book. James is definitely a book that you should read often because it just deals with temptation. It deals with dealing with spirits, and there's always a solution for whatever it is. So verse 16, James 5:16, it says, "Confess your faults one to another, and pray one for another, that ye may be healed. The effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much." So we pray that we might be healed. It doesn't mean that we're going to be healed, but that hope and faith is what drives that prayer. Do you know what I'm saying? So the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much. So when we're coming together and being on one accord, and we're on that righteous path, yeah, our prayers are gonna be more heard. You know, like Raphael, the angel of the prayers, he's gonna take heed, like with Tobit, man. You know, Tobit, like he said to Tobit, yo, chill, man. Your prayers have been heard. You know, they'll come up for a memorial. You know, they're like incense. You know, that's basically what he told him. I'll skip to 19, verse 19. James 5 and verse 19 says, Brethren, if any of you do err from the truth, and one convert him, let him know that he which converteth the sinner from the error of his way shall save a soul from death, and shall hide a multitude of sins. So again, this is another thing we should be striving for. Like it says, you know, he that winneth souls is like the stars of heaven. Paraphrasing. You know, this is a goal we should be going for, man. You know, we need to be converting our brothers and sisters from the error of their ways. That's It's not just being selfish and looking for our own, our own like hiding our own sins. But once we convert, like if we convert, Lord willing, brothers and sisters, they will do the same thing. You know, they will teach. To remember, we're not just laboring for ourselves; we're laboring for them that are to come after. You know what I'm saying? And I think I've got one more. One more. This is um, Colossians, Colossians 3 and verse 16. This is Colossians 3 and verse 16. It says, Let the word of Hamashiach dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord. And psalms and hymns, and songs, this is a song. This whole Bible is a sweet song that just is like music to our ears, but even still, like, singing to the Most High, man. Like, my children, they sing that song, that Brother Gideon brings out, like, and it's mighty still, So we have to sing these spiritual songs, with grace in our hearts, And verse 17, it says, and whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Yahweh Shai, giving thanks to the Most High and the Father by Him. So whatever we do in word and deed, because words mean a lot. There's life and death in the tongue. But again, the deed as well. So we have to say it and do it. We can't say, yeah, I'm gonna be there and not be there. We have to say we're gonna do what we're gonna do, and we do it in the name of Yahweh Shai and Mashiach. Yeah, and yeah, that's it on that. That's it.
I'll just give two presets and then close up, man. So I've got a book, of Acts, man, the classic, man. Sakaya said, man, we just have to confirm the souls, man.
Mm.
Right? It's Acts chapter 14, right? It's Acts 14, and I'll start from verse, 22. Because everything that is for our betterment as a nation, not as individuals.
That's right.
So it's Acts 14 and 22, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of Yahweh. So the disciples, obviously, being a disciple, yes, we had the 12, we had the 70, I believe it was as well. You know, more so us that are following the word, we have to exhort each other to continue in that word, man. And that's through rebuke, love, exhortation. That's for all of that. So when a man doesn't, or a woman, sister, brother doesn't want to hear that, you got to have that discernment, and know the wrong from right, man. Right? So let's get one more, right? The classic one, right? Because we see the day approaching, so we confirm the soul, sealing the elect, pushing his word, right? Bashing Yahshua, man. This is the book of, see that? No, baptism spirit. It's the book of Hebrews 10 verse 22. Let us draw near with a true heart, in full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience. See that? And our bodies washed with pure water, man. Hey, find somewhere in London where there's a source of pure water. Right? Find that, man. Seen people getting baptized in some damn. And again, there's no sin to be baptized, but that's not gonna change it's not gonna change your evil conscience. Verse 23. Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that promised. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works.
Yeah.
Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching, man. Right? And obviously it talks about sinning willfully, but point being is that here, man, you don't want to forsake that assembling, because now you're kind of stuck in that willful sin, man. You're not coming around brothers, man. You're just doing your own thing. You're just being an independent. Now you're being an independent black woman. Right? Well, I don't need you. Right? I don't need you guys. Now hey, man. Hey, why do you think Yahushua had the 12? And then even David, why do you think you had those the mighty men?
Mm-hmm.
Solomon had the priest and son, it's not Abiathar, but there were men, even the women, man. Women, they had the maids, right? And you might not always be with these people, yeah, but you're gonna, that's your elite circle, man, if you want to kind of put it like that, man. On an army, that's obviously an army concept, but that's what it was. So, all praise to the Most High, man. Like, we have to have that brotherly love, and no respect to person, man. Right? But all praise to the Most High, man. Brotherly love and royal Lord in the last days, man. Right? So Lord willing, everyone's edified. Brother Kapash.
Brother Tezapa.
Shalom.
Shalom.